So this latest Deepwoken update with the Shrine of Order nerfs is controversial, to say the least. Now, obviously, there has been a growing number of people in the community that have complained about Shrine of Order, and really, there is no way the developers could have nerfed Shrine without people complaining. It's been such a pivotal part of build making since Verse 2 released. There's no possible way you could change it in any amount. Regardless of how minuscule, people would still be upset. I do, however, think people are being pretty facetious in saying that the game is ruined or build making is ruined. You can make the argument that this is not even a nerf to Shrine of Order. And now let me explain. Shrine of Order, it was always meant to be not even an upgrade, more of like a separate progression path to add variety to the game, right? That you could either be the jack of all trades and the master of none, or you could be a non-shrine build where you're the master of a few things, opposed to being the jack of all trades. I don't know the idiom or the verbiage that you'd use for that, but the point being, if you were Shrine of Order, you'd have a greater access to a deeper talent pool, you'd have access to a larger amount of mantras, but you would do that at the expense of weaker overall mantras, weaker overall talents. If you didn't use the Shrine, you'd have stronger talents, stronger mantras. That's how it was always intended to, be played. Of course, the balancing got way out of control, and the developers kind of just gave up on it. They just said, fuck it, Shrine of Order is now just a straight one-to-one upgrade. They're going back and they're changing things. You can feel however you want about it. Largely, this recent change was for the sake of consistency. People act like it's, the end of the world. Oh my god! Oh, it scales with my stat investment. Yeah, as it literally always should have. That makes perfect sense, right? If you get X talent at 40 agility, and then you go below 40 agility, it makes sense that it is then less effective. Why would it have a fucking prerequisite as a stat at all if the stat did not affect its efficiency? Makes perfect sense to me. Another thing is, that's existed, right? Shrine of Order is scaled with your stat investment for well over a year. Condition, runner, all of these different talents, all of these different stat attributes, like agility or like fortitude, have scaled with your stat investment, where things like charisma kind of just got away scot-free. Now that it's been more fair and more consistently applied across the stat tree, people suddenly are complaining. It doesn't mean that this is without its faults. You can make a great argument that this is going to significantly harm build diversity. But before you even get into that, as a community, we need to ask ourselves the question, should shrine builds and non-shrine builds have one-to-one strength, right? Should they be equally powerful? Or, because of the larger pool of talents that shrine builds have access to, should they be generally weaker? Before we go anywhere with this conversation, before you even talk about it with anybody, you all should answer that question first amongst yourselves. Because Shrine of Order builds have such a deeper pool of talents and they have access to so many more mantras than their non-shrine counterpart, does it not then make sense that the trade-off is damage? That you are generally using a less efficient build because you have so many different tools in your arsenal, whereas a more standard, cut and dry non-shrine build, right? You don't have as many cool talents, you don't have as much, access to mantras, and the trade-off is that you do more damage, right? That's the first question you have to answer. In my mind, obviously yes, right? If I'm Shrine of Order and I have, at least 25 or 40 points in every stat allocation, and I have a shit ton of valuable talents, makes sense that those talents are not as viable as somebody who, let's say, went 100 charisma. Yeah, their charisma stats, their charisma talents probably should be stronger than mine if I shrined it down from fucking 60 to 30, Theirs should be more powerful. It leaves room to interpretation. We'll see how this goes in the future. Because if they're just going to one-to-one apply this to everything, it's going to cause a lot of problems. If you one-to-one apply this, especially to attunements, where it's if you go 75 flame and then shrine it down, you're going to kill dual... you might as well just remove Fan the Flames from the game. Shrine of Order, for what it's worth, largely exists for dual attunement. Shrine of Order was the only way that dual attunement or triple attunement builds could viably exist. So when you're balancing, you have to be incredibly mindful of that fact. I think the best way to do that is to just not really nerf elemental talents by like stat investment. But look, I'm not a dev. That's up to interpretation. I haven't really been playing Deepwoken lately, so I'm not tapped into the demon meta. But leave your thoughts down below. I honestly think that it's a good change. Just, I don't know why they waited all this fucking time and told me personally for probably years and years that, oh, Shrine of Order is part of the game. It's just how it is. And then over time, they slowly nerf it. And then you realize, oh, you just didn't take me seriously for no reason. Because you ended up just doing exactly what I told you to do a year and a half late when your game's in fucking ruins. But whatever, bruh. Whatever.